His name was Perry Hollins. And everybody in his family had played something. So he played the violin. And his brother played another instrument. And then all of their children played. In fact, I had a cousin, Anna Laura Hollins, who played organ for St. Paul United Methodist Church, which is still going on in Dallas. As Lester Young's mother said, she taught everybody to play. Everybody had to learn to play something. So on Sunday afternoons or evening, we entertained each other that way because we couldn't go to too many other things. He asked them to get him. He was on the West End, which would be Midland and those places in Odessa. He didn't like working on that end, so he asked to be moved to the East End. And the East End would take him from Fort Worth to Texarkana and back. So that's when he started working as a union person. He took over the chairmanship of the presidency of the local.
And that's
how.
And the neighborhood that we're where we are now.
Yes, it's basically railroad people. They were either porters, waiters, and some of them were red caps. And because that was the best paying job. The trainmen were very, very responsible because they would fight. Well, then they had to think about their families, so the women organized them a group, and they were really organized, and they didn't mind fighting the people, because they weren't going to bother the ladies, but they were the women's organization of the local, and that way they got a lot of things done through them. They marched. They were marching then, the women. Yeah, and so A. Philip Randolph came, and that's when I got a chance to meet A. Philip Randolph, because he was head of the organization at that time. And he just moved on right on to, you notice he was with Dr. King. So that was an outgrowth of that.
Yes, and that's amazing that you met him.
Yes, and didn't realize what an honor that was. He was an older man then, but he still was he never quit. No, he never quit. So thanks goodness to unions, that was the thing that really, really helped to fight segregation. The priests and the Catholic Church didn't mind, they didn't care. But the city of Fort Worth and the police force wouldn't allow us to go any farther than, say, where the library, Chamblee Library is now, is where I went to elementary school. Luckily, they didn't tear that building down, because I still can see that corner room where I was in the 5th grade. It's Chamblee Library, but it did keep the building. And the church is still there on the corner of Evans and Verbena. So what we did, the priest didn't care, but the policeman did. So Our Lady of Mercy was our school. We went to the 8th grade, and after then we had to go to James E. Gwynn, which is still over there on 35. You can see it from 35, that building. They tried to get rid of that too. 35 and Rosedale. So that's where we went at the 8th grade, because we couldn't go to Our Lady of Victory, and we surely weren't going to get to go to Nolan at all. Not that the priest minded, not that the Catholic Church minded, but the city and the police laws wouldn't allow black and whites to go to school together. Duke Ellington and Nat King Cole and all of them used to come here and play at Will Rogers. But there weren't any sections for us put out. But my dad went anyway, and whoever was in charge told him, well, you're the only ones who are here, So since you're here, we'll let you come in. And we came in. He said, but I'll have to seat you in the last row. And that last row that was next to the wall, that's where we were seated in order to see this.
So normally you wouldn't even be able to sit there?
Normally they didn't want you in there at all. Because, they had two sects. You had, it's like the movies, Green Pastures, which was one of the famous stories about the Bible. If you went to the Majestic Theater to see Green Pastures, the white folk went all day, all the way into the night. The black people would have to come at night to see Green Pastures, which was an all-black cast.
And I understand that when major artists would come into town, like Ella Fitzgerald, those folks, Nat King Cole,
Duke Ellington,
that they wouldn't be able to.
No.
Could you tell us?
They stayed in homes. A lot of them, Dr. Burnett used to have them at his home. Dr. Borders would let them stay at his home. There were some of the dining car waiters who took them home because they stayed in the house, because you couldn't go to the hotel.
That's how you got to know them, right?
We could know them because they were there. And you could run out the door and you might run in and see one of them. They talk to you. Mr. Fowler was a man who had majored in music, and his whole family were musicians. They all did something. And then one of the Fowler boys became vice principal of I.M. Terrell, which was Carver at that time. And because I saw that my mother graduated from I.M. Terrell, that's where she went to I.M. Terrell, where is the Carver building. And Mr. Fowler, his brother, was standing there. He was the vice principal. I saw that picture. So I saw that Mr. Fowler also. He was the one who chose to teach regular school. But W.A. Fowler was the musician. He taught all the Susan when they got to I.M. Terrell, they didn't need to learn any Susan marches. He had done all that. They all knew their scales, they knew everything, and he was very strict.
So he had a big part in mentoring
big part.
The youth right here.
Very big. Some of them wouldn't have been anything, including my husband. He would have probably been in jail. But anyway, Mr. Fowler didn't play. And like I told you, he went to every one of their teachers and told them, let me know if you have any problems. You don't have to tell their parents. I'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Every afternoon at 4 o'clock, you didn't have to look for his boys. They were in his house. And they rehearsed till about 6. They were reading music. They memorized music. And when you got to I.M. Terrell High School, Fowler's boys knew everything about Susan's marches that you could tell. He had made sure that they did. And he played for a lot of events. And the Masonic Hall used to be right where 35 runs into Belknap, that little crazy curve they have. All of that area over there was the Masonic Lodge. And that's where they used to play for them a lot. And the Masonic Lodge finally learned to help to support the band. So, but Mr. Fowler had to do a lot of that on his own.
So the band had this Fowler's band had uniforms,
they had uniforms
and instruments. Where'd all that come from?
Well, cooking dinners, chicken dinners, barbecue. The mothers cooked cakes. They sold pies, whatever they could sell to buy those uniforms. Because that year they were invited to play in Los Angeles. So they couldn't go out there without uniforms. So they went and represented the Masonic Lodge here from Fort Worth in Los Angeles. And then they got Mr. Fowler, some kind of way got that going. But now here's the thing about it. There were children who came from Lake Como to Mr. Fowler's band. Because once the parents heard about Mr. Fowler, they wanted their boys to go there. And Northside, wherever they were, they would end up at Mr. Fowler's in the afternoon.